Hey everyone, I want to talk about the 2015-2016 presidential race with the politics and the issues associated with it. Um, I'd like to begin just by noting that it seems, I think, solid to say that everyone running for office in government, um, they all have a few attributes or characteristics that prevent them from understanding the issues in a smart way. Um, the first is that they're always rich. Um, Even Ben Carson, he's an awesome person, great morals and so forth, but he's uh, he's wealthy. There's no way around it. They're all wealthy, especially compared to the average person. Um, Ever seen a person run for president that maybe made 60, 70, 80,000 a year? I haven't. Um, so because of that, they don't understand the average person. They don't understand the public, the issues that we have. That they don't understand what it means to deal with life, to actually live, to make hard choices, to balance any kind of budget. They just buy whatever they want, for the most part. I mean, they have very liberal budgets. They just money is not an object for them. So let's just talk about the issues in a smart way. I'm going to invoke technology, which I think government has been substantially lacking on, and using technology in really smart ways, and also invoking, I guess, new perspectives on social. I'm going to say the word social justices, but I'm not implying any kind of alliance with some of the groups that have used that. So let's just talk about. I'm going to go as quickly as I can in talking about some of these issues, and then maybe we'll see what you guys think about it. So I want to talk about the most important two issues that I see are taxation and I would say the First Amendment, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, so forth like that. I definitely say that those are the biggest ones. I definitely do want to touch on border control and immigration, because I think the issues being floated around about those are not only disastrous, dangerous, but just stupid. There's a lot of stupidity going on. So taxation. When you think about I guess the government needing to collect revenue, that's a given. The very first thing you should be thinking about with taxation is how do you collect it? Not necessarily how much, but how. And currently we're doing with the income tax, the corporate tax, the death tax, you name it. We've got all the stupid ways of collecting taxes. The way to collect taxes, in my opinion, is through the sales tax, the end-use sales tax, which basically just says if no matter what kind of illegal activities you may be involved in, you cannot skirt this tax. If you need to buy food, and everyone does, you will pay a flat tax. You won't have to divulge any of your personal information about what you do, how you spend your money, who you are, any of the time associated with any of that. We won't even need an IRS. The taxes will be collected by the states from the corporations, a relatively small number. So we need a flat sales tax. I advocate the fair tax. Look into it. The fair tax is a pretty awesome idea. It's been around for quite a while and recommended by the experts in the economic sense. So anybody in the economy, economists are recommending the fair tax. But it gets rid of all of these different taxes and tax shelters and everything, and prevents the government from treating you differently than me, which is one of the legs of wealth redistribution, taking more from one group than another, and in some cases even flat out just giving one group tax refund money with no tax collection at all. Yeah, that turns into a welfare of sorts instead of a set taxation system. And then that fair tax, currently it's not structured to do this, but basically I believe that it should be a flat percentage amount, should always be connected with every spending bill. So if you approve something for spending, along with that comes the approval for taxation. If you want to get rid of the taxation associated with the spending, kill the spending bill, it kills the taxation. I think they should be linked by definition hand in hand. No more debt. We pay off that debt, and all our spending is exactly linked with taxation. It just makes sense. It's practically the definition of a balanced budget, and it takes the politics out of the game for politicians saying, hey, I gave all my constituents all these things, and the constituents will have to turn around and say, yes, and you also gave us these taxes that go directly with it. Alright, so we've got taxation out of the way. So the other part, I would say the freedom, it's the liberty, it's the freedom of the press, the First Amendment, the freedom of privacy. I believe that we definitely need to have, and interestingly enough, the Apple issue has come up, trying to protect our privacy through encryption, and the government saying, yeah, give us a backdoor. And shoot, just like trying to take control of the internet, not a good idea. So I would definitely say we have to protect our liberties at all costs. If somebody engages in criminal activity, you'll see it. The government will see it. Usually it's hard to hide criminal activity. Once you do something, people can usually observe it, and that's where security, physical security, comes in, especially with the physical security. Okay, so let's go to some of these issues here. Oh, I do want to, before I get into some of these issues, and we are kind of covering some of the issues listed here, is talk about the border control and immigration. And just to put the nail in the coffin on this freedom thing, this privacy and everything, we have had politicians saying that we shouldn't even be talking about the government's interest in bypassing encryption, and we shouldn't even be talking about IT security and the ways, well, it's all about encryption. The ways that criminals have for hiding their stuff is the same ways that we have for having our privacy. But okay, so I do want to emphasize, if you expect to have your First Amendment, you have to, absolutely have to, protect encryption. Hand in hand with the ability to exercise a freedom is the ability to do it without others knowing. So if I want to talk to my friend without anyone else knowing, I have to have privacy. And if other people know, there are things I cannot tell my friend, because there are things that I don't want others to know. I want to have the ability to meet. This is the private assembly, to assemble with those in groups that I choose. And by doing so, I have to be able to exclude others from the group. I tell you, there are things that you cannot say while others are listening. You have to, when you talk to an audience, you have to change what you say and how you say it to your audience. You have to adapt the message. You have to. If you don't, there are always consequences, and you have to face those consequences. So, alright, so that's privacy. Privacy is huge. Privacy, even with taxation, and being able to spend my money how I want, on what I want, when I want it, is huge, and taxation undermines all of that. So alright, let's talk about some of the things listed here, and I'm going to be as quick as I can. I'm doing pretty good at 8 minutes, I think, for covering social justices and big political ideas. Alright, so when it comes to jobs and minimum wage, I'll tell you this. More things that people are simply not talking about. You will get the wage that you deserve if you understand two things. And one of these things is undermining women and their ability to earn as much as they deserve. You need to understand first the value of experience and the value of working with the right people in the right company. That is absolutely critical. And sometimes, and I've done this, you will actually get paid less for the same work, and you will actually voluntarily, if you're smart, choose to accept a position, and maybe even ask, and I've done this, ask for less wage than what someone doing the same exact job has, because you want the experience. It's almost forcing the company because, with the temptation of being able to pay less for the same labor, to accept you instead of somebody else that maybe has more experience or maybe seen as a better candidate in some way. And I really don't care what that way is. The opportunity to get the experience will enable you to get not just minimum wage, but will enable you to earn what you're worth. So there is no point in establishing a minimum wage or ensuring wage equality between the genders, between the same gender. I don't care if it's another person that looks exactly like me. I want the job, then I will get the job, and I'll do what it takes. I may settle for a couple years for a lower wage, and then basically work myself into a position where I say, I've done this, I've done that, and then the next employer that looks at me is going to say, oh man, with what you've done and what you know, I'm going to give you a lot more. And they're going to say I'm going to give you a lot more because I'll know how to negotiate. This is the second part of minimum wage. I think people need to be educated on this. The government may need to play a role in this to enable people to escape minimum wage, enable them to rise. People need to be taught that they do not show their cards up front. If the employer asks, what's your salary history or your salary requirements, just tell them, I'm not comfortable telling you that. If they don't understand, you can put it in more simple terms. I'm not going to show my cards. I'm not going to basically undersell myself. Now I have undersold myself to get the job, so it's okay if you want to, say, hey, I'll work for this much, and if you believe that'll give you a good chance at getting the experience, then do it. It's in the long run, it's for your good. But if you want to have the best salary and you know you're worth a lot, and I know that I'm worth a lot, that people, when they see what I can do, there are a lot of people clamoring for employing me, and so I tell them, hey, you tell me what you think I'm worth, and if it's competitive, it's what everyone else is saying or in the neighborhood, we'll talk. And then I'll assure them and say, I realize that there may be conditions that are non-tangible, basically things that are beyond monetary compensation that also play into the job. People, the environment, the opportunities that I'll have to be able to put more things on my resume later on, the ability to influence others and to network. Those kinds of things are intangibles that I value. And if you have more of that than someone else, I may be willing to look over if your offer is maybe a little lower than theirs. So offers are not strictly, I guess, by the numbers. I'm not looking for something where you pay more than the next guy for the same work. Nothing is ever exactly the same. Anyhow, that's what we need, and we need to, so basically, and then on jobs, we also need to address some really big problems with the definition of the corporation, as it's, I've heard it put, a way to obtain individual profit without individual responsibility. The corporation is, by its very definition, causing a whole lot of problems in our economy, problems with the employment rate, with jobs. The idea that people can earn money off of the labors of other people has to be revisited. When you work, you are entitled to the intellectual property rights, in my opinion, because you created the intellectual property. Maybe not all the intellectual property rights, but I really do think that we need to revisit it, because the idea that a corporation can just own everything that you do and everything that you are is it's beyond absurd. There's no way the corporation can own my memories, and yet I imagine if they thought they could, they'd try. Anyhow, I might as well explain that. So if I do something and I create knowledge, the knowledge is created in my brain and is created on paper or wherever I put it. The corporation can claim basically that is its property on paper, but they can't claim that my memories are property. So obviously I can reconstruct anything that I've done. So the idea of a corporation owning property is flawed at best. It's a really stupid idea. If employees create something, they really are entitled to part of the property ownership of the things they create. Anyhow, corporation is a bad definition. Let's talk about some of these other things. So we hit the big stuff. The rest of it should go pretty quickly. Labor unions stem from the bad definition of the corporation. Once that's in check, the people will have the rights that they deserve. By definition, they will be owning, at least in part, their works. and the corporations simply will not be able to abuse people as they currently do. Um, I do like corporations and what they give, but because of their definition, they do bring a whole lot of really bad stuff to the table. Yeah, corporations protecting their assets by transferring their assets to other corporations and things of that nature. It's absolutely absurd how stuff is protected from the law. Alright, let's see. Free trade. It should be understood, and I think it isn't, that if, and really, any time a gun is not to a person's head, it is free trade. To some extent, it's free. So if I engage in trade, say I'm American, I engage in trade with China. If China imposes taxes or tariffs on my goods, and I do not impose any taxes or tariffs or regulations on China's goods, the net result will be that China will be hurt as much as I will be hurt. So China is hurting me as much as them, but I will still be better off by doing the trade than I will be by not. And this is how it works. By engaging with China in the trade, where China is now imposing tariffs on my stuff, there will be, as we call, a trade imbalance. But it basically comes down to this. We, by selling to China, will be able to make money off of it. We might not make as much money as if they didn't have the tariffs, but we will be making money. If China was not there, it simply didn't exist, those are goods and services that I simply would not be able to share or to sell, and profit that I would not make. Now, if I can make more profit with selling to someone else, then obviously I will. That's the problem that China will face. But as long as I believe that it's in my best interest to sell to China, I will make money. Now, it hurts us because I won't make as much money, and it hurts China because they will have to pay more for what they buy from us. Now, if they can find someone that sells cheaper than us, or I should say cheaper than us plus their taxes, then good. They'll buy from them, and the other people will make money. But if they buy from us, we will make money. So that's just the way it comes down to it. Now, if they buy from someone else, then China, by making our goods and services of a higher price, they are basically making it so that we do not exist in their trade scheme with them. We will exist with everyone else that trades with us, but just not with them. And so they are basically hurting themselves because they have to pay more. They are forcing themselves to pay more for the same goods and services. And that's that much less resources that they can spend on other things. So they're hurting us, yes, by not trading with us if they choose to go with someone else because they made our products and services more expensive. They're hurting themselves, they are hurting us, but that's their choice. If they didn't exist, basically we'd be as if they didn't exist. If they don't engage in trade. I hope that's making sense. Now, so do we need to tax their goods and services sold to us to kind of try to equalize the trade balance, as they call it? No. Because if we do, we will hurt ourselves as much as we will hurt them. And we hurt ourselves because our citizens and corporations will not be able to purchase the goods and services at as cheap a rate as they would without the import taxes and tariffs. So we hurt ourselves by making things more expensive because our citizens and corporations will have to pay more unless there's a cheaper place somewhere else, and then we're basically forcing our citizens and corporations to ignore China as if China did not exist in selling those goods and services. We will still have to pay more if China is not part of our trade, if we're not trading with them. So, if we have to waste extra money on the goods and services not going to China, or being tariffed or taxed at a higher rate, we're paying more, then that's that much less that we can spend on other things. our quality of life diminishes because we have less resources to spend on other things. Okay, so I hope I made the free trade argument pretty clear. In as much as it is free that we don't have guns to our heads to do trade, and it makes sense to engage in the trade where we can buy goods or services at a cheaper rate from one country than from the others, we should do it. No matter if there's an inequality or not, we should do it. It is to our advantage, and we should always engage things that are in our advantage. We should not be printing our own money. That is basically stealing from everybody that has money by devaluing their currency. So if all of America possesses dollars and the Fed prints money, those dollars become worth less than they were before, and we, because our money is worth less than it was before, we have less money to spend. They're stealing from us because we now have less value in our hands. If I have $100 in my hands, they print money, and now the $100 is worth 90. I have less money in my hands. So it may say $100 on the bill in my hands, but if it's only going to buy $90 worth of stuff, and I have to spend more, like 110, that's the inflation, to get the same things, the government has stolen $10 worth of value from my hands. We should not be printing extra money, ever. There is no way to get free money. You will always end up stealing from somebody if you get extra value without offering value in return. Okay, so that's where inflation comes from. So we're talking, all these things are linked together. So we're talking about one, we talk about all the things. I want to talk about gay rights. That's huge. Before we finish, we're doing okay on time. I'm trying to make this fast. But so gay rights, I want to start off with the basis for gays and LGBT in general. Being gay is a choice, even if they don't realize it. Psychologically, the way a person develops as they grow, with a small contribution to the DNA which exists within all of us, to be turned on to various aspects of each gender. Being gay is a choice based on basically the choices and environments presented to you as we're developing. In that light, we should not have children in the homes of a gay couple, because the way in which the gay couple operates will make our children tend more towards a gay lifestyle. And I believe that there is distinct and unique value in a man and a woman. We're fundamentally, intrinsically, naturally different. And I believe that those differences are vitally important. And I'm not talking about differences about liking pink or blue. I'm talking about differences that are within our spirits, that are within, even within our DNA too. But mostly I'm talking about the unique things in a man and a woman that make us, that make it difficult for us to work together, that we have to learn very special skills in order to work together and appreciate each other and understand each other and diversify each other. Things that men need to learn from women, attributes that they naturally have that we need to develop, and vice versa, that women need to learn from men that we naturally have that they not only need to develop, but by developing become richer and better people for it. They might not be strong at the things that we're natural at, but by developing skills that we have, they can become even stronger than they are now. So I am saying emphatically that there is a difference between man and woman. There absolutely is a difference. It's needed in the raising of our children. The children need to learn the differences as they grow up. They need to make those differences a part of themselves to become better people. And my only discrepancy now with gay rights is that we really need to protect our children. We need to protect them through pregnancy. The life is a life of incredible value from the very beginning, and we need to give them the opportunity to develop with a man and a woman fully invested as parents. in their raising. Now, that said, I'm totally open to gays having their own marriages that do not bring children into the marriage, as you call it, a gay marriage, as you call it. Leave children alone, and I think gay marriage is perfectly fine. Call it a gay marriage, call it a gay union, I don't care. But we're protecting our children with the ability to develop with a man and a woman at the helm, in charge. Now, I do believe we should protect gay rights to be able to, if they want, see each other in hospitals, file jointly on taxes, get joint health insurance through their employers, which that's messed up. Oh, we got to talk about health insurance. As you can tell, there are a lot of things to talk about in here. But we were talking about some of these already. We do need to talk about gun control. Let's talk about, this goes into kind of drugs, the drug war. That's awful. The government is in the business of earning money through its drug war. And, man, I cannot get to all these things in a fast amount of time. But, alright, so let's just take what we can cover. Alright, what can we cover? What do we need to cover? Let's cover... Yeah, so we're going to cover, because I think this is a huge issue. We call it, I guess, health insurance. It's really not been that, but we definitely need a system, a private system, where any company can vie for any person to join their system and have any rules for their system. They do not have to be regulated by the government. And basically the system says, we will cover these goods and services with these charges, and regardless of what employer you have, the compensation that employer gives towards health insurance, whatever that amount is that goes to a health insurance plan, will go towards your health insurance in your plan. So if a employer gives, say, $500 a month towards their own health insurance plan, then they're obligated legally to give $500 a month towards an employee's choice of health insurance, whatever that employee's choice is for health insurance. Let the employee find the health insurance that they want, and then if they lose their job, they take that with them. Now, the idea of health insurance is kind of corrupted because we don't know the price of the services when we ask. Like the hospital, hey, how much is this x-ray going to cost? Most of the time, they don't know the prices, and they can't tell it to us without having to call up and check plans and everything. It's quite a mess. It's very detached. They have to say, well, not sure what your deductible is, if it's met, if your out-of-pocket is met, if which plan exactly you have. It's all stupid. The hospital needs to say, we charge X number of dollars for this thing, and basically that thing that they're charging then I think needs to be charged to the health insurance, and then the health insurance figures out based on your plan, okay, it costs X number of dollars. You need to be able to know what that X number of dollars is, and then you can take X number of dollars and say, alright, health insurance, how do you pay for X number of dollars? And then the health insurance tells you. So they'll break it up, but you know what the total amount is, and you can go to your health insurance, and if they have a simple system, they say deductible is $5,000, then we pay 20% after that, then you know what it is. You can do the calculation yourself, or maybe they give you a calculator or whatever it is, but it needs to be transparent. Alright, so let's see. Welfare, I am not against welfare. It may sound like I am sometimes talking, but I do believe that government has a certain basic level of responsibility to ensure that the citizens do not have to worry about survival, their very existence. There are things that I think we can do that cost a very small amount that can go a long way, and there are things that I think we can do that cost an incredible amount of money that don't really go that far. Health insurance is one of them that costs an incredible amount of money and don't necessarily go that far. But there are ways that we can approach health insurance where I think we can do very, very small costs and save ourselves a lot of cost in the long run. For instance, one of those things might be preventative stuff, preventative dental. Obviously, if you can prevent having to do cavities and root canals later on, you can save an incredible amount of money, not just to yourself, but to the government if it happens to get out of hand, and they might have to do some really, really expensive things to save your life because you didn't do a few preventive things along the way, or couldn't, whatever. There are some small things that we really need to do to lower the costs in a big way down the road. So I do believe in some amount of government benefits, but those benefits would apply equally to every person. I don't believe in government giving benefits just to a small group of people. It should apply to everyone equally. Alright, let's see, what else do we have? I think if we protect First Amendment, we protect religion. I don't think our First Amendment is protected right now. I believe with the Liberty Act and many other things, including being sued over what you say, that the First Amendment is probably mostly gone. As much as we have, we still don't really have that much. And also, on the same note, I believe that the First Amendment does is probably the first thing really we should be thinking about in protecting with religion, being able to associate with who we want to associate with, buy from whom we want to buy, sell to whom we want to sell, and discriminate as we wish. I'll tell you this: if there are a lot of gay people and businesses discriminate against gays, then gays can take their business to businesses that don't discriminate, and those businesses that don't discriminate get more they get more profit, they get more business, they get more of everything, and those who do discriminate, they get less. So there's naturally a price to be paid for discrimination. But if people believe that they need to do that because of moral or ethical views, they should be allowed to do that. Being able to say what we wish does have a limit, though, when it comes to things that are criminal. If I say I'm going to kill you, that is criminal, and I don't believe that the court's protection of the ability to say, I want to kill cops, I got to pop a cap in a cop and all that kind of nonsense rhetoric. The courts have said it's protected. I say absolutely not. Anything that advocates felony, okay, to an extent, but in general, the advocates committing felonies should not be allowed under the First Amendment. We do have some felonies, I think, that would not fall under that. For instance, I think things that really shouldn't be felonies. And I can go into that in a great detail, but I want to keep it simple and just say, if the government says that voicing dissent against it is a felony, obviously that's not a felony. Obviously that's not something that should be a felony. And obviously you should be able to say that you dissent. So advocating, saying, hey everybody, dissent against the government, say that you don't agree against this one thing that the government is doing, that should not be, just by advocating for people to express their First Amendment rights, that should not be something that could be tried on a criminal basis. So we really do need to rethink what a felony is, what should be allowed to be declared as a felony, and relook at our drug laws and what we can declare a felony by the violation of drug laws. Science, technology. I did want to talk about immigration. I know this is taking a while, but There are some really big things I think they're just simply not talking about. When it comes to immigration, when it comes to border control, people are not talking about the technology that we have and the way that we could employ to keeping the bad guys out. I want to start with the basis that this nation is a nation of immigrants. There is no reason that we should keep out immigrants, because every mouth that comes in that needs to be fed also needs to work to feed. So what it comes down to is, as immigrants come in, there's more work for Americans, because we need to feed them, clothe them, and meet the needs of whatever they want to buy. And because they need to buy, they need to work. And so then they meet our needs. They do things for us. By doing things for us, they're going to be doing things at a cheaper rate of whatever they can do, because that's what happens when you increase the supply of something. It lowers the cost. So we are able to buy things, buy services and goods at a cheaper rate from them, because they need to earn money, and then by earning money, they need to now spend that money to buy things that they need. And by buying things that they need, they're giving us more business. They're giving us more work. So more immigrants is fine, but I think we can put in some basic requirements. The need to speak English so they can do business effectively with us is probably a good requirement. Maybe one of the only requirements. Oh yeah, and establishment that they won't do anything criminal. So they're going to adhere to our laws, and they don't plan on any terrorist attacks. Now, how do we establish that? Background checks, I think, are one of the worst ways to do it, just because of how much time and energy it takes, and how easy it is to fall through the cracks with a bad guy getting through by background checks alone. We need to literally ask the people coming in, do you intend on committing any terrorist acts? Do you intend to harm people while you're here? Do you believe in jihad? And then as they answer these things, one of the things I've noticed actually with the Muslims is they're dying to get their message out. They want to be heard, believed, validated. And so because of all that incredible amount of emotion that they have attached to their cause, they can't lie very well, because we can put lie detector tests to them. They're voluntarily coming in. Let them pass the lie detector tests. And if they want to try to say that they're not intending on committing terrorist acts, blowing up buildings and stuff like that, then when they say that they do not intend to blow up buildings, they're going to have a naturally high stress level, because they actually do plan on doing that. Then we're going to catch them. So we'll not only keep them from coming in, we can catch them right there in our own hands. We could put them in jail right there, because they've voluntarily walked into our hands. Why should we go out, send our military out to try to find these terrorists if they'll just walk right into our hands and tell us that they're terrorists? So yes, we can get people to do interviews with pointed questions that reveal whether or not they're going to be a criminal. And I think we should put pointed questions that say whether or not they intend to raise their children to be criminal or not. So we can ask them questions that reveal if they plan on instilling in their youth a value for work, value for abiding the law, value for doing certain kinds of activities that will keep them off the streets. We have to be smart about the questions. We have to be smart about using the technology we have to catch the criminals. And then if they pass and they really want to be good law-abiding citizens, or even law-abiding people, I say let them in. Let them in if they feel the need to come in on their own. We may be able to get a lot of people in that speak really good English and want to work really hard. Trust me, we will not run out of jobs. Every mouth that comes in is a mouth that needs to be fed. We will have enough jobs. We'll have more jobs. As regarding border control, we have technology at our disposal that we can watch our borders, and it's not in building a wall. That's expensive, and it doesn't work. Walls can be dug under, they can be broken through, they can be climbed over. We do not want to build a wall across all of our borders and a floating wall on our seas. Seriously. What we need are airborne surveillance through drones. Drones that can watch a very large border area and track heat signatures and other signatures from things that cross the border. And by doing so, we can not only track terrorists, but we can track wildlife that's around there too. So we can put a tag on a heat signature and say, all right, this is a deer, or this is whatever. We can have all kinds of things to track things going across the border. Trust me, it's possible. We can see movement. We need drones in the air watching the borders, all of our borders, including the sea borders. They're relatively cheap. We do have the technology to track what they see. It does get into a little bit of a big brother worry, and we obviously need things in place to prevent fears of that from happening. To strictly regulate those kind of programs very, very closely. Frankly, I would make all of the data available from those drones freely available on the internet to everybody. So anybody can watch any section of the border they want and see exactly what's being watched and how it's being watched. Absolutely. Can the bad guys look and see if they're being successful in crossing the border? Yeah, they could do that. But if they're smart enough, they could figure it out on their own anyways. They figure out technologies to try to thwart what we're seeing. But we definitely need to have it, and you know what? It'll give more comfort to the citizens that we're not having illegal immigration, and it'll give, I think, the bad guys room to pause, saying, wow, they can see us no matter what we do. No, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, there's all kinds of technology we can put in. But we definitely need to watch the watchers in that. Okay, so I've talked about a lot of things. We need IT security to protect us from bad guys. Nobody's talking about that. We need IT security for more than just the government. We need IT security for corporations and individuals. And I think government does need to play a role in enabling everyone to have better access to IT security. I'm going to leave with that, even though, as you can tell, there are a lot of things more that we could talk about. I think we covered the big things. I'm not even going to touch guns. No, I'll say one thing on guns. Guns in the hands of good people is good. In the hands of bad people, it's bad. But guns denied to the hands of good people empowers the bad people to be bad. It's the great equalizer. It protects women who might be outmatched by man or men. It can protect her in a lot of different ways by her ability to use a gun. So, yeah, we do need to have the right to bear arms. We do not need to have places where we walk in without that right and have to surrender ourselves to the bad guys who would bring guns in and do evil to us. So I do not believe in gun-free zones. It's the worst idea ever, to be honest. We need to get systems in place that empower people to carry, to be accurate in their fire, to know the shooting fundamentals, to know how to de-escalate situations, to know whether or not they are somebody that should be carrying a gun, whether or not they're prone to road rage and prone to just whipping out and trigger finger. We need people to know if they should be carrying guns. So we definitely need that. We need a lot of empowerment when it comes to guns. So, okay, I am talking about guns. We need them. There's no way to avoid them. They are the great equalizer. Weak people can defend themselves against strong people because of guns. That actually makes us that women can fight in the military because they don't necessarily have to be as strong as a man to employ the weapon systems that we have. Guns are the great equalizer. Alright, I'm going to leave you with that. Thanks for listening. I actually did go a bit longer than I expected, but I think we covered a lot of material, and I think everything that I talked about was something that nobody else is talking about. It's just not in the spotlight, and the politicians they simply don't know enough. They are not, maybe you could say they're not smart enough in these areas to understand the possibilities, what technology can do for us, and really how we can protect our liberties and have a free America and a secure America. Okay, thanks for listening. Let you guys go. Thanks.